the greatest disappointment in our lives is created by expectations. Because we look at what we expect, we look at what we are hoping for. And when what we are expecting or hoping for is not given to us in the way we have hoped, we become greatly affected and disappointed. But we need to realize again that God works in mysterious ways. As it is correctly put in our first reading, His thoughts are not our thoughts, His ways are not our ways. In an attempt to understand how God operates, we need to attempt to think as He does. Not to think in the way that we expect Him to think. Because that is where the problem comes from. When we have expectation, to the point that out of our expectations, we expect God to think in a particular way and to do in a particular way. And a way that is from our thoughts or how we think God should be doing things. We are reminded that His thoughts and His ways are not ours. If we put our expectations ahead of how God wants things to be, then we will surely be disappointed. Because the way we think is not how God thinks. The way we think is not necessarily how things ought to be or how things must be. It will be hard to determine how things ought to be if we do not align ourselves with God. And it is aligning ourselves with God and trying or attempting to think as God does that the understanding of how things ought to be will make sense to us. But if our thoughts and our ways are not aligned with God's ways and thoughts, it will be difficult to embrace and welcome whatever possibility that is in store for us. We must always have a bigger vision and never be limited by our own human way of thinking. Let us seek God in everything. And let us take note that this life is about God and not so much about us. And if this reality can be embraced, we will be able to welcome whatever possibility that is in store for us. We must approach life knowing that God remains at the center of this life. And all that we need to become ourselves is to be a true reflection and manifestation of who God is. St. Paul states clearly and beautifully that for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Our lives must be characterized by who Christ is. if we fail to reveal who Christ is in the way we live, in the way we conduct ourselves, then we will be failing in becoming what we are meant to be. For what we are meant to be is to be Christ-like. What we do, how we react to situations must be Christ-like. We must be a true reflection and manifestation of who God is, of who Christ is. That in how we handle ourselves, those who are yearning to know who Christ is, they must not look far, but when they look at us, they must be drawn to who Christ is. They must come and experience the very nature of Christ through us. The contact we have with Him, with Christ, in the celebration of the Eucharist, when we receive Him in the Eucharist, must help us to be conscious of His presence in our lives and embrace Him wholeheartedly. We must be conformed to Christ. A gospel reading, unfair as it may sound, it challenges us to be Christ-like. It challenges us, just like Christ, to be generous based on this parable, the example that He is giving in the gospel. It challenges us to be positively motivated in what we do. Sometimes in doing good, we must not be motivated by what we are going to achieve in return. But we must be motivated by the fact that it is good to do good, more than what we are to receive in return. And if we are motivated by doing good, we will have a peace of mind no matter what happens afterwards. The greatest affirmation that we will receive is that we would have done what is right and we would have done what is good, no matter what we receive in return. But we stand to be disappointed if we are motivated by what we are aiming to receive. Because if that expectation is not met, just like these workers who were the first, our expectations will be crushed. And the chances of being motivated again in doing good will diminish. So we must try at all times to be motivated by doing good. If the focus is in what we shall receive afterward, we are taking away the importance of what we are meant to do. We are reducing the good work that we have been involved in into nothing. There must never be a price in doing good. We must always learn to pride ourselves in knowing that we have done what is right. We have done good. But as we see from these workers who were the first, I think in a way they allowed pride to stand on their way. They allowed pride to stand on the way of the good that they have done. Because this pride created in them a sense of overconfidence and the sense of entitlement, that they felt so entitled that they did not consider the other workers who came after them as deserving. And as a result, when the wages were given, they became grumpy and agitated because they were given the same wages. But what is at play here is their expectation, is the fact that when they saw others coming, they expected to receive more than those who came after them. So in a way, they reduced the importance of what they were all about into nothing because of overconfidence, because of pride. But we see what pride, what overconfidence often creates in us. It creates selfishness. And because of that, they became so selfish. They felt that they were entitled to everything. That when something good was happening to others, they felt that those who came after them did not deserve what was good. But we must take this as a lesson that we need to appreciate. We must learn to be generous. We must learn to be grateful when good things happen to others. We must never be self-centered and expecting every good thing to happen to us. When it happens to others, we must rejoice with them that something good has happened. But because these other workers allowed pride, selfishness, overconfidence to take over, it was not easy for them to appreciate and to embrace the good that had happened to those who came after them. We will live fulfilling lives if we are able to celebrate when good things are happening to others. But let me tell you what happens if we fail to appreciate and embrace the good that is happening to others. If we fail to do so, jealousy will be born. This is how jealousy is born. Failure to see good in others, failure to appreciate the good that happens to others will bring about jealousy. When we feel that we are the only ones who deserve and others don't deserve. But we must change our ways. And we change our ways by thinking as God thinks, by doing as God does. And the other thing that we need to avoid in life is comparing. Because we see what is at play again here is comparing. These workers who came first, who were hired first, they are now comparing themselves with those who came last. Now, if we compare ourselves, we will self-defeat. What do we gain out of comparing ourselves with others? We must look at ourselves and appreciate the strides that we have made, the achievement that we have made. And whatever that we achieve in life is precious, must be viewed as precious, but it must not be compared to something that has been achieved by others. Whatever that has been achieved by others was meant for them. And let us look at what is meant for us, and appreciate and embrace how God wants things to happen in our lives. If we can create this kind of an attitude, we will live fulfilling life. We will live our lives to the fullest. We will live our lives appreciating every good thing that the Lord has done. Let us remain strong in faith and take lessons from today's readings. And let us allow God to be the ruler of our lives. Let us allow God to guide our thoughts and to guide our ways.